Hello and welcome to LearningEngineer.com, where we engineer learning for efficiency. My name is Michael Langdon. Today what I would like to do is show you how to create a random quote generator. Now this is one of the projects in freeCodeCamp, and as you can see up here I have my tests, and I did test it and it passed all the tests, so this will pass all of your tests. The reason why I'm doing this one is because in a lot of cases they were using React, and I'm not a big fan of React. I think it's wasteful. But that's just my opinion. Instead, I prefer jQuery. So this was actually done in jQuery, and if I refresh it, you'll see that a new quote comes up. If I click new quote, you can see it provides you with a new quote every time. If you click the tweet quote, it does what it asked me to do. I don't know about that part, but anyways, the new quote, and this works. So I'm going to show you how I did this. So the first thing I have is I have my index HTML, and if you want to, you can find this at practiceengineer/codiad/workspace/practice/quotes index HTML. So there's where it is located. And so what I did is I have an HTML, and I kind of have like some basic CSS here. So I have the body, the quote box, the text, the author. And here's my script that goes to first jQuery, and then next to my actual JavaScript. Okay, and then as you can see down here, I have a body, a divider with an ID of quote box, then a divider with an ID of text, a divider with an ID of author, and then a button for a new quote, and you can see it goes to the new quote function. I really don't actually need this. I could have done this right in jQuery, and I'll show you how to do that. Then I have the Twitter link, the end part of my dividers, and then my script for the freeCodeCamp to make sure that works. So as you can see, there's not very much there. But here's the quote generator. So one of the things I wanted to learn how to do was to actually get my data for my quotes from somewhere other than my JavaScript file. So that's what I did here. And what I did is I set up, I have a GitHub account, and what I did is quotes JSON. I made a quotes JSON file, and this is what a JSON file would look like about. So there'd be a bracket and then curly braces, and here you can see I have the quote in quotes, colon, and then the quote, a comma, author, and then the author. And they all follow that pattern. This is not my list of quotes. This is somebody else, and I'm not sure where I got it from anymore. But so this list of quotes isn't really copyrightable because it's just a data list. Databases in the United States are not copyrighted. So there's my quotes. Okay, and if you click raw, that would take you to the quotes JSON. So if I click raw, so here's the link, and I just copied that and then I paste it up here. So I have a function called new quote. Okay, and so from that function new quote, I have the very first element is $get JSON, and it gets the JSON file. And then I have a function. So when it gets it, it's going to run this function. And the way this works with the get JSON is you have to put everything inside this JSON. There's no good way to pull this out of this. Okay, I looked. So we're just going to do everything right within this get JSON. So the first thing we do is, because our quote needs to be random, I need to have a variable for the random quote, and of course I set that to 0. Then I have random quote equal mathrandom times the result length minus 0 plus 0. So what we're doing is we're taking the length of this, okay, we're minusing it from 0, we're adding it to 0, and then we're multiplying it by math random, because if you remember, math random doesn't give us a whole number, it gives us part of a number. Then we do random quote equals random quote to fixed. So we don't want this to have decimal points. We just want it to be a whole number. And of course I have 2 console logs. You don't really need them, so I could pull those out. And then what we want to do is we want to set, and I can pull those out too. So really this is all my code right here. And then what we do is we tell the getJSON function to set the text ID, because that's what this hashtag means. This is the ID text, HTML, and then I set the HTML to the result, the random quote number, and then the quote. And then we do the same thing with the author. So this is the ID of the divider element. This is telling the divider element that we want to change the HTML. And what do we want to be in that HTML? We want the result, so this, which is the result. We want it to be the random quote number. So this is the index. Okay? So we want the data from this, the index of whatever that is, to be the randomly generated number here, and then to be the author. So we have quote and then author, and of course the quote, the text for the quote is going here, inside there, and then the author's name is going in there. Now instead of having button on click, okay, I could also do it where, whoops, I'm sorry, it's actually here. So as you can see then, after I do this, then I have document ready, and when the document is ready, it just runs the new quote function. Now if I wanted to, I could also do this a little differently, in that I could also say like well, I don't have to, for example, I don't have to do on click new quote. I could set that parameter under the document ready. Okay, and then I could say new quote, I could say function, and in this case I can use like equal sign, arrow, and then, okay, and I could do this. Oops, that's not what I want. I want that. So I could say run new quote, but I could also say then $, parentheses, in quotes, button. I'm not sure what I call my button, so I have to look at that. So my button is just called new quote. Okay, so my button is hashtag. So that's the ID quote. Okay, and then say click, and then put parentheses, and then I would put new quote. Oops. And that's a function, so it would have to go like that. So when I click on the button, so here's the button. So when I click on the button, it automatically runs the new quote function. So this is the ID new quote, and when I come back here, you'll see the hashtag is new quote. Now what I can do is save this and then refresh this, and we'll see if it works. So that worked. Now let's click new quote, and that worked as well. So as you can see, that works. Okay. So yeah, so instead of having anything in here that has a function on it, nothing in here has a function on it, because in jQuery we can establish all of those things. So when the document first loads, when it's ready, it runs a function. It runs the new quote function, and then when I click on the button, it runs the new quote function again. So that's basically how to do a random quote generator using JavaScript and jQuery, which I find to be much easier to use than React. And you can see how very few lines of code are required to do the very same thing that React would require a lot more lines of code. So I don't know why everybody's so fascinated with React, but this is a random quote generator and jQuery. Have a good day. Bye.